Hello, welcome to Scrap Time episode 1007. My name is Christine, and on today's episode, Wendy Vecchi is giving us some tips for using her Stamp It Stencil It.
Mark and Christine are here, CHA, Winter 15, Anaheim, California. I'm going to show you today how to use my new Stamp It Stencil It. So this one is the Hydrangea. So a little tip that I like to do is I'll put a little piece of tape on the back of my tag, and that kind of holds it onto your craft sheet. And it gives you two hands then to work on your project. You don't have to worry about it sliding around. So the first thing I'll do is I'm going to ink my stamp, use Jet Black Archival. Archival inks are permanent waterproof inks, and that's why I like them, because then I can add any water-based product over it with no problem. My image will not bleed or smear. So Jet Black is the one I usually use. Sometimes I'll use watering can for my image if I'm going to stamp on watercolor cardstock, because I think it's a little bit softer effect. So I'll just give this a quick dry and make sure my black ink is dry, and then I can go ahead and add my other archival inks over the top of it, and I know my image is not going to smear. Okay, so this is how this works. I had the idea that if you only have archival pads, or if you only have Tim's Distress, how can you color this image if you don't have markers? So that's kind of how the Stamp It Stencil Its were born. So I wanted a stamp and a stencil that coordinate. So what you'll see here is the stencil will line up perfectly with the stamped image. So you can see now the ink is going to go only in these open areas. So I'm going to ink my ink my blending tool, and then go through the stencil here. Okay, so when I take the stencil off, you can see my leaves are done. There's nothing on the flower because that's all been protected by the stencil. So then the next thing we can do is go ahead and color the flower. So for this I'm going to start with my sky blue. This is a new archival color for me, absolutely beautiful. And this is going to work the same way. I'm going to just go ahead and line up my stencil right on my stamped image, and you can see again the background is protected and the leaves are all protected. So super simple to go ahead and ink over my flower. And I like the mini blending tool when I'm using stencils. I use the larger one still for backgrounds and for my shading on the backgrounds, but for stenciling I really like the little round mini here. So that's sky blue. If you want to darken it a little bit, you can certainly go ahead and add another color. This is Hydrangea, so I'll just add a little bit along the edges here to just kind of give it a little bit of shading. So there I have my super simple stamped stencil and colored image. Really quick and easy. And that's a good way if you don't have markers how to do this. So next thing, as long as this is dry, this is going to be a permanent image. So dry. So if you think about this, normally when you do art, you will create your background first and then add layers on top of it. But this, my main image is done, so now I know exactly what I want my background to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and go over this with Distress ink. So I said the archival inks are permanent and waterproof. The Distress inks are going to react with water, and that's going to be a cool effect in the end. So I can go right over my stamped image, and it's not going to change it at all. So this ink is Scattered Straw. Okay, and then I'll add some, how about some brushed corduroy. I'll add that to the edges. And always, when you're using the Distress, always work from the craft sheet onto your tag in a circular motion. And that's what gives you really nice blending. Whoops, sorry. Okay. Mark, you can't give you a whiplash with that camera. Okay, so there's my background, getting better already. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do, I want you to see that my image is going to be permanent. The Distress ink is made to react with water, so that's going to be the next step. So I'm just going to take a background stamp, or just a little mini stamp here, and I'm going to use some water and show you how you can stamp with water. So if I missed a little bit of water onto my craft sheet, I want to stamp into this only one time and pick up the water. If you keep stamping into it to pick up a lot of water, what happens is you fill in all those little recessed areas and you're going to end up with one big blob. So if I stamp into it one time, I'm going to stamp right over my flower onto my background, stamp again, and stamp again. And what you're going to see, the water is not going to affect my flower. We'll give it a few minutes to react, and already you can see that the water is going to lighten up the distress ink in the background. So I'll give it a quick blast and help that along. So can you see nothing touched my flower? And here's the little lines from my stamp in the background. So nice subtle background. So Distress ink and archival ink are both dye inks. Tim's is a water-based ink, mine is an oil-based ink. So the way I explain it to people is, if you think about a bottle of salad dressing, it always separates. Oil and water don't mix, and that's why the archival and the distress work perfectly together. Make sense? So there's what we have. Quick little tag. You can see my stamped here. It's been bleached out with the water. My flower is not touched at all. It's perfectly clear. Crisp image, did not bleed. Thank you guys for stopping by. Hope you have fun.
Well, that's it for today's episode. Be sure to check out our website at www.scraptime.ca. And on our next episode, Diane Reevely is giving us an exclusive demo. So please join us. Thanks for watching Scrap Time.